Hi, my name is Jenny Durand. I am the host of NFW. I am a writer. I write contemporary fantasy and paranormal romance. I have always been a writer. It's just something that I'm really interested in. And every episode, I introduce myself, I introduce the show, and I really just give a brief recap as to why I decided to go into writing. Um, it's just always been an interest to me. And what's really funny is it's not something that I ever thought that I would publish. I've always been a very private person. I don't really like sharing certain parts of myself with others, primarily because I don't feel comfortable doing it. It's one of the reasons why this podcast is structured the way that it is. Um, but I've always been very good at journaling. I've always been very good at creative writing. And so I um, have carried that through year after year after year after year. And I never really thought about making money from it, and I still kind of don't. I still work full time. I still go to a job, a 9 to 5 that pays my rent, my health insurance, and all that other stuff. And then when I come home from work, I write. I spend my weekends writing. I spend my weekends editing. I spend my weekends looking for covers. And, it's just something that I do that no one really gets. Because even when I talk to my friends about it, they kind of just like, oh, you do that? Why? Um, but it's my comfort, it's my therapy. Like, writing is my therapy. It's what makes me feel better after a really long day, after a really depressing day, after a really stressful day. Writing just makes me feel better. So in 2015, I was in grad school and I wrote a story. It was a paranormal romance. I've mentioned it a few times, Winter's Homecoming. In Winter's Homecoming, it's about a woman who basically ran away from her life after something horrible happens, and she builds a new life for herself. And her past comes to knock on the door and kind of rip things apart. Well, not really rip things apart, more like shake things up. I shared that story with a friend who said, Jen, you should really think about publishing it. And I was like, well, in high school, I thought about publishing. I sent out query letters. I tried to get an agent. It was like a whole thing. And it didn't really go anywhere. I think most writers say that. And then I was really busy with school anyway. I didn't really want to go through that process again. Um, then I found out that you could self-publish through Barnes and Noble, Amazon, and a couple of other places. And I was like, well, maybe this is a better fit for me. I didn't really think it would go anywhere. I still did it though, just because it seemed like, the saying that, the saying that you don't miss 100% of the shots you take, but you do miss 100% of the shots you don't take. That was basically my mentality. I was like, I'm going to give this a shot. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it does work, great. Um, so I published Winter's Homecoming and I started working on book 2. Book 2 was Jaguar Nights, and then I had book 3, Pearl Moon. Then I had book 4, Shadowy Lights, and I had Cold Sun, and now I'm working on Lost Hearts. I also published a few contemporary reads, Engaged by Christmas, Twins for Christmas, for my Christmas December months. Um, I had Stuck Between Two Millionaires. I'm working on a new series now I'm working on a few new series. I'm working on one series called The Constantine Brothers. Wolf came out a few months ago. I have a new paranormal series that I'm working on called the Reawakened Magic series. The Protected is coming out in October. Book 6 of Secrets, Love, and Betrayal, which is my paranormal series that I mentioned earlier, that's coming out in November. I just I've continued to create content and I put it out there, and whatever I get, I get. I appreciate it. Um, Whenever I think about writing or whenever I think about how to proceed, it's always from a place of doing better the next time, getting better the next time. um, growing my ability to create more realistic characters that really touch the people that are reading the story. Um, I don't know how successful I am at it, and I may not always be successful at it, but I love trying to do it. Um, I thought about starting NFW a really long time ago. Like, it was years, and it has gone through so many different versions and ideas of style and how I should focus the episodes, until finally I just decided that I want to talk. I want to talk with my listeners. I want to talk with my readers. I want to share my insight when it comes to the perspective I have when writing, and the direction that I tend to go in. And I want to hear or read what you guys have to say. I'm open to it all, because it's nice to be able to connect with someone on a more personal level. I think sometimes when you're just going through the motions of reading and then maybe you'll comment, maybe you don't, it really just depends. It's nice to listen and really get an idea as to who the writer is and to hear her point of view, so that you have a better idea of what you're reading and how it's being interpreted while being transposed onto the page. Um, I romantically am someone who's very serious. Like, I don't really do casual dating. A majority of my stories tend to be ones in which casual dating isn't a feature, primarily because I don't understand it in my own personal life, so it'd be really hard to navigate in writing. Um, I am a homebody to a significant degree, so for me, adventure is picking up a new book and spending the afternoon sitting on the couch reading. But I also like to do fun things like go out to brunch, even though we haven't been able to do that in a while. But hopefully, by the time this episode comes out, I will be able to go to brunch and have a mimosa again. We'll see. But when I'm writing, I'm giving voice to someone who may have some qualities of mine, but does not have all of my qualities, because then I don't really think it would be the most interesting of stories. I think what makes a story great is its ability to draw in the reader by sharing similarities, but also diverge in new and interesting ways that makes the reader think, maybe next time I should try that, or maybe next time I should do this. Um, my my characters tend to be very outspoken and very direct in the way that they speak. It's because I'm very direct in the way that I speak. I think the reason that is because I grew up in a immigrant household. So English was not the first language that my parents spoke. It was actually Creole, and then they learned English when they came here for high school. So they are very direct speaking people. Um, they don't really crouch what they mean and what they say in metaphors. They're going to speak directly to whatever the issue is, because English isn't their first language, so it's harder for them to really talk around an issue. They just need to address it right then and there. And for the most part, I've adopted that same mentality. I don't really talk around issues. I'm very direct. When I have an issue with something, I give voice to that issue. Whether or not someone's ready to hear at the time is questionable, but it's always a very direct conversation, in that I'm making sure that when we walk away from this conversation, you will at least have my point of view clear. I don't know if I'll have your point of view clear. Hopefully I will, or maybe we'll have to come back and circle to it. But the point is, the conversation is going to be direct. Um, and I understand that if you don't grow up in an immigrant household, or if your parents are not the same way, maybe you won't get it immediately. But for me, because that's what I know, I don't like long drawn out conversations where you're not talking about the issue. I think that's one of the things that drives me crazy about Insecure. If you listen to one of my earlier episodes, you'll get it. I get building tension. I know and I understand its use in literature. I just feel like it can be built in other ways that don't involve long conversations that mean nothing and everything at the same time. It's very awkward to me. Once again, because I grew up in a house that was very direct. Like my mother, I can tell you when I was in high school, and oh my God, she probably wouldn't like me sharing this only because it doesn't give her the best light. But I remember when I was in high school, I was always a bigger girl. I'm still a bigger girl. It's one of the reasons why I try to be really inclusive in about size when I write. Um, I walked into the bathroom and I always liked using her bathroom because she had like a master bathroom. It was really nice. It had like marble countertops and all this other stuff. And she looked at me and she was like, "You've gained weight. You look fat." And like, it wasn't her trying to hurt my feelings. It was literally just the thought she had in her head and she gave voice to it. Did not mean that I took it well, not by any stretch of the imagination. But I learned really young that your parents are going to say what they think. And whether or not you agree with it, whether or not you like it, you're still going to hear it. And it has given me the personality where I'm basically the same way, because she'll say something like that and then I'll look at her and I'll be like, okay, I'm fat but you're fat, so I learned it from you. Like, and that's just the way that our relationship is. It's not based off of hatred, it's based off of love and just the ability to let certain things roll off your back. um Granted, I also know that that wouldn't work for everyone, and I would never say that to a stranger. That's usually just reserved for family and close friends. When I am dealing with someone new, I try to always give them warnings. I'm like, look, I don't know. I don't know what's polite to say to people, and I rarely ever give like politically correct answers. I think it's very funny when someone will text me, "Oh, how are you?" and I'll send them like a whole block of how I'm feeling. Usually it's positive, usually it's funny, but if I'm frustrated that day, you're also gonna get that. And then I remember one time I was talking to a guy. We'd been talking for a while, and we were doing the whole "how are you" thing, and I was getting bored, and I had just finished having a conversation with my little brother. I have four siblings, one little brother, and then three sisters. Um, and he is about to start college. At the time, he was about to start college, and I was talking to him about like how you prepare and all this other stuff, and he was just driving me crazy because I'm type A and he's very like hippy dippy. Things will get done when they need to get done, whatever, whatever. And so, guy texts me, "Hey, how are you?" And I send him this block paragraph about how frustrated I am by men in general, especially teenagers, and I don't understand why they're so frustrating because I don't remember being that frustrating as a teenager, even though I probably was. And he kind of like laughed and he was like, "Oh." And I'm like, "Oh, we're sorry. Were you expecting the politically correct answer?" "Oh, I'm fine." And like, I did it in a joking way because I understood that I like basically dumped on him. Um, but it's just who I am. The what you see is what you get. It's right there in your face. And so when I write, I tend to write female characters that are the same way because that's what I understand. I understand directness. I don't really believe that men are mind readers. I don't think other females are mind readers. If you feel something, you should say something because that's the only way that the people around you are going to know how you feel. Um, and I don't understand relationships where the people around you don't know how you feel. But I really like to know what my readers think. I would like to hear what they have to say. Do you feel like hiding certain things and then waiting for the right moment to expose it makes for a better story, or do you find that you like direct characters who share and are open with not only the reader but with the other characters inside of the story? I really want to hear from you guys, and if you like the content, please like and subscribe and share among your friends. All right, you have a good night. Bye.